Before you step into this story, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who loves mysterious journeys. Because what you are about to hear is not entertainment. It is a warning. They thought they were going hiking. They believed it would be an ordinary weekend trip into a quiet forest. None of them knew they were walking toward a place that does not exist on any map. A place that remembers, a place that watches, a place that never forgets. And once someone enters, the forest decides whether they will ever be allowed to leave. The Whispering Forest. The trees stood like ancient giants, not simply tall, not simply old. They felt aware. Their massive trunks rose into the sky like the pillars of a forgotten cathedral, bark twisted into shapes that resembled frozen faces. Some looked peaceful, some looked angry, some looked like they were screaming silently. A thin gray mist drifted between the trunks, moving slowly as if guided by invisible breath. The forest was quiet. Not the gentle quiet of birds resting, not the comfortable quiet of nature sleeping. This silence felt intentional. Evelyn Carter slowed her steps. Her boots pressed softly into damp soil layered with fallen leaves and tangled roots. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the ground itself resisted her presence. She adjusted the strap of her backpack and glanced around. "Does anyone else feel that?" she asked quietly. Marcus Hale walked a few feet ahead of her, tall, broad-shouldered. His dark tactical jacket blended almost too well with the shadows. Years of survival training had taught him to trust discomfort. He did not answer immediately. His eyes moved from tree to tree, scanning. "The forest is wrong," Marcus finally said. Jonah Reed, walking behind them, let out a nervous laugh. "Forests can't be wrong. They're just trees." But even as he spoke, he clutched the worn leather journal hanging from his shoulder like a lifeline. Malia stepped slightly closer to Jonah. Her long black braids swayed gently as a cold breeze passed through the path. "It isn't the trees, it's the space between them." Evelyn turned to look at Malia. "What does that mean?" Malia hesitated. "It feels crowded." They stopped walking. The narrow path curved ahead, disappearing into pale mist. Behind them, the forest looked identical. Left, right, forward, every direction appeared the same. Tall trunks, endless shadows, no landmarks, no birds, no insects, no distant wind through leaves, just stillness. Jonah frowned. "Okay, now that's weird," he muttered. Marcus crouched slightly and touched the ground. Cold, too cold for early autumn. He rubbed the soil between his fingers. "Anyone else notice we haven't heard a single animal since we crossed that ridge?" Evelyn thought back. The memory made her stomach tighten. They had heard birds earlier, squirrels, wind in branches, but now, nothing. "How far did we hike from the trail marker?" Jonah flipped open his journal. "I wrote down times. Roughly 40 minutes past the creek." Marcus stood up. "We've been walking almost 3 hours." Silence followed. Jonah slowly raised his head. "That's impossible." Malia stared down the path ahead. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "We're not moving through the forest." The others turned toward her. "The forest is moving around us." A low sound rolled through the trees. Not a roar, not a growl, more like a breath, a deep exhale that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Evelyn felt goosebumps crawl along her arms. Marcus raised one hand, signaling everyone to stay quiet. The mist thickened, not rising, not falling, sliding sideways. The shapes of the trees blurred. Then something whispered. Not a word, not a voice, a layered murmur like hundreds of distant conversations overlapping. Jonah swallowed hard. Please tell me you're hearing that too. Malia nodded. Evelyn nodded. Marcus did not move, his eyes locked onto the darkness between two massive trunks. For a moment, Evelyn thought she saw something shift. Not a body, not a shadow, more like the space itself bending. Back up, Marcus whispered. They took one step backward. The whispering stopped. Complete silence returned. Jonah exhaled shakily. Okay, that's it. We turn around, right now. Evelyn agreed instantly. Marcus, lead us back. Marcus turned, then froze. The path behind them was gone. Not blocked, not hidden, gone. Where the trail should have been, there were only dense trees pressed tightly together, roots tangled like a wall. Jonah's face drained of color. That wasn't there before. Marcus stepped closer to the trees. He pushed against them. They did not budge, not even slightly. These trees weren't this close together, he said. Evelyn's heart began pounding. We didn't walk through this. Malia slowly backed away. The forest closed behind us. Jonah shook his head. No, 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 no. Forests don't do that. Another whisper drifted past them, longer this time, closer. Evelyn felt it brush her ear. Not a word, but a feeling, recognition, like something had just noticed her. Tears welled in her eyes. Marcus. Stay calm, Marcus said, but his voice was no longer steady. He turned in a slow circle. Every direction looked identical. Endless trunks, endless shadows, no sky visible anymore, only a dim, parchment-colored light filtering through leaves. Jonah clutched Marcus's arm. We need shelter. Marcus nodded. If this place is changing, standing still will get us killed. He pointed forward. We move together, slow, quiet. No one wanders off, no matter what you think you see or hear. Jonah forced himself to nod. Malia closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them, fear filled her gaze. There are older things here, older than memory. They began walking. Each step felt like wading in invisible resistance. The whispering did not return, but something worse replaced it. The sensation of being observed, not from one direction, from everywhere. Evelyn kept expecting to see eyes in the darkness. She saw none, which somehow felt worse. Minutes passed, or hours. Time felt slippery. Jonah whispered, I don't think the sun is moving. Evelyn looked up. He was right. The dim light never changed. No shifting shadows, no progression, permanent twilight. Marcus stopped. Ahead, something broke the endless pattern of trees. A structure, barely visible through mist. Angular, unnatural, wooden. Evelyn squinted. Is that a building? They stepped closer. The shape sharpened. A small cabin stood in a clearing, crooked, aged, wood planks darkened by decades of rot. One small window glowed faintly with yellow light. Jonah's breath caught. Someone's here. Malia felt cold. Something is here. Marcus studied the cabin. If people existed in this forest, they needed information. If something else lived here, they would learn soon enough. We approach carefully, Marcus said. No one argued. They walked toward the cabin. With every step, Evelyn had the growing certainty that they were not discovering the cabin. The cabin was revealing itself. Behind them, the forest remained silent. Ahead of them, the faint yellow light flickered.
and somewhere deep within the woods, something smiled.
The spiral path beneath their feet felt alive. Each step resonated with soft vibrations, echoing like faint drum beats through the void. Evelyn, early 30s woman, pale skin, shoulder-length dark brown, slightly wavy hair, sharp gray eyes, wearing dark green field jacket, brown scarf, dark trousers, worn hiking boots, reached out to steady herself on a glowing stone. Light pulsed gently under her fingers, as if the path itself was testing their resolve. Marcus, late 30s man, tall, broad-shouldered, rugged face, short black hair, trimmed stubble beard, wearing dark charcoal tactical jacket, cargo pants, heavy boots, large backpack, walked beside her, eyes scanning every floating island. "Keep moving. Don't let curiosity slow you," he warned, voice firm but calm. Jonah, mid-20s man, light brown skin, slim frame, curly black hair, thoughtful eyes, wearing gray hoodie under faded canvas jacket, carrying worn leather journal, whispered softly, tracing constellations with his finger in the air. "The stars, they're shifting, aligning. They want us to follow a pattern." Malia stepped lightly, barefoot on a floating shard of stone. "It's a test of harmony. Not strength, not speed, but trust." Above them, the Guardian hovered silently, wings of cosmic energy folded like a great luminous cloak. Its gaze was fixed, unblinking, assessing the travelers with patient intelligence. The closer they moved to the glowing temple, the heavier the weight of expectation pressed on their chests, like invisible hands reminding them of their purpose. A sudden flash of light illuminated the path ahead. Evelyn shielded her eyes, heart hammering. Shapes moved in the light, phantoms of travelers passed, their footsteps frozen mid-motion, frozen mid-gesture. Some seemed frightened, others determined, all eerily human. Marcus whispered, "Are those people?" Jonah shook his head. "Not exactly. Memories. The forest keeps them. The cosmic path preserves them." Malia closed her eyes. "We must walk without fear. They're here to guide, not to harm." As they stepped into the largest illuminated shard, the phantom travelers moved in a synchronized flow, forming a living constellation around them. Each movement matched the rhythm of the cosmic trail. Jonah felt an inexplicable connection, as if each phantom carried a fragment of a story his grandmother once told him. A voice echoed across the void, not from the Guardian, not from the stones, but from the very cosmos itself. "Only those who honor all paths may pass. Only those who listen shall be guided." Evelyn swallowed hard, glancing at the others. Marcus tightened his grip on his pack straps. Jonah clutched his journal close. Malia simply smiled faintly, exhaling slowly. The path split into 3 smaller spirals, each leading toward different sections of the Golden Temple. Light swirled violently around them, as though challenging their unity. Malia raised her voice, calm but commanding. "We stay together. No one goes alone. The path chooses us as a group, not individually. Trust me." Step by step, they moved as one, following the rhythm of the cosmic trail. With every step, the weight on their chests eased slightly. The whispers of the forest, carried through time and space, were no longer warnings, they became guidance. Finally, they reached the entrance of the temple. The golden light poured over them like liquid dawn. The Guardian hovered at the threshold, wings partially unfurled, eyes blazing with cosmic fire. It spoke, its voice reverberating through their bones. "Only those who have reached the heart, but the trial is not over. You must confront what you carry inside before the knowledge of the cosmos may be shared with you." Jonah swallowed hard, glancing at his companions. Evelyn nodded slightly. Marcus took a steadying breath. Malia exhaled, eyes closed briefly.
Each of them felt the unspoken weight of personal truths, the fears, regrets, and unresolved stories that had shaped their lives. The temple's door opened slowly, revealing not walls, but an infinite space filled with shifting constellations, ancient scripts, and ephemeral images of civilizations long gone. The air hummed with anticipation, and somewhere deep inside, Jonah felt his grandmother's presence guiding him forward.
Just when you think the mystery is unraveling, the shadows deepen. Watch closely as our heroes step into a world untouched for centuries. And if you love adventures like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic journeys. Marcus leads the group cautiously into the hidden chamber revealed at the end of Chapter 2. Evelyn examines the carvings on the walls. Jonah takes notes nervously. Malia holds her carved wooden disc, which resonates as they step in. The chamber is dimly lit by golden bioluminescent fungi on the walls, casting strange, dancing shadows. Ancient murals depict a civilization that seems both familiar and alien, showing people in ceremonial garb and mystical artifacts. The atmosphere feels alive, watching, almost sentient. At the center of the chamber, a massive crystalline structure hovers above a pedestal, pulsating with soft golden light. Malia instinctively steps forward, and the disc in her hand vibrates in response. Jonah scribbles in his journal, eyes wide, while Evelyn deciphers the symbols etched into the pedestal. Marcus scans every corner, ready for unseen threats. The air hums with energy, thick and tangible, like the pulse of the chamber itself. A faint, ethereal voice murmurs in a forgotten tongue. The group freezes. Marcus signals for silence, listening intently. Malia closes her eyes, focusing on the resonance of the disc. Visions flash through her mind, ancient battles, guardians, and a long-lost key that seems to connect everything. Jonah's hands shake slightly as he writes. Evelyn steps closer to examine a mural that depicts a ceremony eerily similar to the one Malia is envisioning. They realize they are not alone. Unseen eyes are observing them. The walls glow faintly, symbols shifting slightly, as if responding to their presence. Evelyn deciphers patterns, while Jonah cross-references them with his journal. Marcus and Malia search for triggers in the carvings. Sweat beads on Marcus's forehead. Tension crackles like electricity in the air. The group communicates silently, each motion precise, each action critical. Only by activating the symbols in the correct order can the artifact's true power be unlocked. From the far end of the chamber, a massive, ethereal figure emerges, armored, partially translucent, eyes glowing like embers. Marcus positions himself in front of the group, ready to protect. Evelyn grips his arm. Jonah steps back, keeping his journal close. Malia channels the disc's energy, her hands glowing faintly. The Guardian moves with silent authority, ancient and purposeful, testing their resolve. Marcus dodges the Guardian's sweeping strikes, countering with calculated precision. Evelyn deciphers and triggers sequences of symbols in tandem with Jonah's notes. Malia uses her disc to create light barriers, momentarily distracting the Guardian. The chamber illuminates sporadically with sparks of mystical energy, revealing more murals and carvings in dramatic bursts of color. Through teamwork and precise timing, Evelyn triggers the final symbol sequence. A beam of golden light shoots from the artifact, enveloping the chamber in warmth. The Guardian halts, bows in acknowledgement, and dissolves into shimmering motes of light. The group exhales in relief. Marcus wipes his brow. Jonah scribbles furiously. Malia holds the disc, now glowing harmoniously with the artifact. The artifact projects a shimmering portal mid-air, revealing a hidden world beyond. Lush forests, floating crystal formations, ancient ruins overgrown with mystical flora. The group realizes this is a sanctuary untouched for centuries, holding knowledge, power, and secrets of civilizations lost to time.
Their journey is far from over, and they step forward, hearts pounding, ready to explore. As they approach the portal, the chamber trembles, murals shift to depict storms, battles, and sleeping guardians. The air hums with a mixture of awe and threat. Marcus, Evelyn, Jonah, and Malia exchange determined glances, understanding that the real challenges lie ahead. The portal pulses, inviting, and the hidden realm calls them forth.
The team cautiously steps into the labyrinth of echoes, a sprawling underground maze carved from dark, ancient stone. Every footstep echoes unnaturally, making the air thick with tension. A faint, flickering light guides their path, revealing carvings on the walls depicting battles, forgotten rituals, and mysterious symbols. Marcus, mid-30s, rugged, alert, stubbled, takes the lead, torch in hand, scanning for traps. His logical mind works overtime, anticipating every hidden danger. Evelyn, early 30s, chestnut braid, analytical, forest-toned clothing, follows closely, documenting the carvings and inscriptions, her eyes widening with every new discovery. Jonah, mid-20s, fair, curly hair, glasses, anxious, clutches his notebook tightly, taking meticulous notes, his breathing quickening with both fear and fascination. Malia, late 20s, deep brown skin, calm, disc glowing softly, hovers slightly ahead, the disc in her hand glowing brighter as she senses the magical currents that twist through the labyrinth. Suddenly, the ground shifts beneath them, revealing hidden pathways. Marcus signals everyone to move carefully. Shadows dance across their faces as they navigate the twists and turns. The walls seem to whisper, echoing fragments of ancient voices. The air grows colder, and a sense of foreboding weighs heavily on the group. Evelyn discovers a hidden panel on the wall, revealing a map etched into stone. The map glows faintly, indicating the path to the labyrinth's center. Malia studies the map, her disc pulsing in rhythm with the faint glow, guiding them toward a mysterious chamber that promises answers and danger. Marcus takes point again, leading them deeper, while Jonah's notes become increasingly frantic as he attempts to decipher the inscriptions and symbols. As they advance, eerie figures of past explorers seem to flicker in the shadows, their forms distorted by the labyrinth's magic. The team must rely on their wits, courage, and the mystical guidance of Malia's disc to navigate the maze, confront the echoes of the past, and reach the heart of the labyrinth, where secrets long buried await. The labyrinth had become more mysterious with every step. The team entered a vast circular chamber at its heart. The glowing crystal at its center hummed with a low, mesmerizing frequency, casting dancing lights across ancient stone carvings. But what immediately caught their attention was a massive mirror embedded in the far wall, its surface shimmering as if alive. Evelyn approached cautiously, her notebook in hand. "It's unlike any mirror I've ever seen," she whispered. Her eyes widened as the surface rippled slightly. Jonah stepped back instinctively. "Alive? What do you mean?" Malia, calm as ever, held her glowing disc forward. "It's showing possibilities, past, present, and potential futures. Be careful, its power is ancient." Marcus stood protectively, scanning every shadow. "We don't know what this could do. Everyone stay alert." One by one, they looked into the mirror. Evelyn's reflection showed her past adventures, her mistakes, and moments of bravery she had long forgotten. Jonah saw himself faltering repeatedly, haunted by past regrets. Malia's reflection displayed paths of guidance and leadership she might take. Marcus's reflection revealed a vision of him defending others, but also a potential sacrifice to protect the team.
The crystal at the center began to pulse faster, as if reacting to their emotions. Shadows shifted, stretching unnaturally across the chamber, creating an atmosphere thick with tension and wonder. "This mirror, it tests us," Marcus said quietly, determination in his voice. "We need to understand what it wants. Are we ready to face ourselves?" Each team member reflected silently, confronting fears, regrets, and potential choices. Slowly, they realized that the mirror was not an enemy, it was a guide, showing the paths they could take if they remained united. As the chapter ended, they moved together, strengthened by understanding and trust, ready to face the next trials of the labyrinth.
The labyrinth had grown darker, deeper, more deceptive with every step they took. Marcus led the team cautiously through a narrow stone corridor, the walls slick with damp moss and faint traces of ancient glyphs. The air smelled of wet earth and old magic. Every footstep echoed, a ghostly accompaniment to the low hum that seemed to rise from the labyrinth itself. Evelyn clutched her notebook tightly, scribbling observations, trying to make sense of the labyrinth's ever-changing layout. "These glyphs, they're not just decorative, they're warnings," she muttered, tracing the intricate lines with her finger. Each symbol seemed to twist under her gaze, almost as if the stone itself were alive. Jonah lagged slightly behind, his anxious eyes darting between walls. "I swear, I just saw a movement over there," he whispered, pointing to a shadow that seemed to slither along the far wall. Malia's steady voice broke the tension. "Shadows are deceptive here. Focus, Jonah. This place feeds on fear." She raised her glowing disc, which pulsed with a warm light that seemed to repel the darkness just enough to keep their path visible. Marcus moved forward, his eyes sharp, scanning every corner. "Stay close," he instructed. "Don't let the shadows separate us. This trial, it's testing more than our courage. It's testing our unity." The corridor opened into a vast chamber, nearly circular, with high vaulted ceilings that disappeared into darkness. In the center, a series of floating stones formed a spiral staircase ascending into black nothingness above. Shadows danced along the walls, but they weren't cast by any light source. The team froze, absorbing the sight, hearts pounding. "This is it," Marcus said, his voice low. "The trial of shadows." Before anyone could respond, the shadows surged forward, solidifying into tall humanoid forms. Their faces were featureless voids, but their presence radiated menace. Evelyn's heart raced. She instinctively clutched the notebook to her chest. Jonah took a cautious step back, his eyes wide with fear. Malia's grip on the disc tightened, the glow intensifying as if anticipating an attack. The shadows began to move, circling the team, testing their reactions, their fears. Marcus adjusted his stance, ready to protect, while the others readied themselves. Each shadow seemed to whisper a memory, a doubt, a fear unique to the person it approached. Evelyn felt a cold wave wash over her, and suddenly she saw herself failing countless times in past missions, decisions she regretted. Her reflection in the shadows taunted her with her own hesitation. She shook her head, forcing herself to focus. This is what it wants. It wants us to face our past mistakes." Jonah's shadow approached, echoing his deepest fears, failures, rejections, moments of cowardice he could never forget. He froze, unable to move, until Malia stepped beside him, her calm presence steadying him. "You are stronger than your fears, Jonah. Remember why you are here." Marcus faced his own shadows, which displayed visions of people he could not protect, moments where he could have acted differently, where his logical mind failed. He clenched his fists, his jaw tight. "I cannot falter. I protect them. I protect all of us." The team began to understand. The trial of shadows was not merely a physical challenge, it was a psychological one. Each member had to confront their inner demons, fears, and regrets.
As they stood together, focusing, the shadows began to hesitate. The whispers grew quieter. For the first time, the team moved in unison, stepping forward, eyes locked, hearts aligned. They realized that strength came not from facing the shadows alone, but from facing them together. With Marcus leading, the group advanced toward the spiral staircase, shadows retreating into the walls as they moved. The staircase spiraled upward endlessly, the top hidden in darkness. Each step was a test of balance, courage, and trust. Evelyn documented the glyphs on the walls as they ascended, Jonah's initial fear now tempered by focus, Malia's steady glow lighting the path, and Marcus leading with unwavering vigilance. The staircase narrowed, the shadows thinning, but growing more intense in their whispers, each trying to lure a member away with illusions of safety, of retreat. Marcus's voice rang out firmly, "Hold on, do not succumb." Evelyn's mind raced, recalling every lesson she had learned from the labyrinth so far. Jonah's hands shook slightly, but Malia's calm influence reminded him of his role in the team. Together, they resisted the seductive whispers of the shadows. Finally, they reached a landing, a circular platform suspended in darkness. The center held an ancient mirror, cracked yet glowing faintly, and another crystal, pulsating with ominous energy. The shadows pooled around the edges of the platform, forming a barrier. "This is the final test," Marcus said, steadying his stance. "We need to confront them together."
The chapter ends here, with the team poised at the edge of the platform, shadows pressing close, the mirror reflecting not just their images, but the culmination of fears, regrets, and the choices that had brought them here. The platform swayed slightly beneath their feet, suspended in the void of darkness. The mirror at the center seemed almost alive, its cracks pulsing like veins of faint silver light. Marcus stepped forward cautiously, eyes never leaving the shadows that pressed along the edges. Every step seemed heavier, as if the darkness itself resisted their approach. Evelyn's hands shook as she approached the mirror. "It's showing us something," she whispered. Her reflection fractured across the cracks, but within each shard, she saw moments of hesitation, doubts she thought long buried. The images were sharp, painful, almost tangible. Jonah peered over her shoulder, his own reflection twisting into scenes of failure, misplaced trust, moments where he abandoned caution, letting fear dictate action. A cold wave threatened to engulf him, but Malia's hand rested lightly on his shoulder, her presence grounding him. "Do not fear what is past. We move forward together," she said firmly. Her glow brightened, sending faint ripples across the platform. Marcus stood before the mirror, shadows swirling closer. Each shadow whispered his unspoken regrets, the times he failed to act, the lives that might have been saved if he had been faster, braver. He clenched his jaw, stepping closer to the reflective surface. "I face this. I cannot falter. Not now," he muttered. His reflection fractured, and within each shard, he saw not just failure, but lessons, paths he had learned to navigate, choices he had made that shaped his protection of the team. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the platform. The mirror's cracks widened, and the shadows surged forward, their movements swift and serpentine. The team instinctively formed a circle, backs to each other. Evelyn held the notebook tight. Jonah clutched his utility pack. Malia raised the glowing disc, and Marcus stepped forward, ready to confront the first wave of shadow figures. The shadows coalesced into a more defined shape, a colossal figure, taller than any human, with limbs twisting unnaturally. Its void-like face bore no features, yet the menace radiating from it was undeniable. The whispers became louder, now almost deafening, trying to drown out rational thought. Evelyn spoke through clenched teeth. "It's feeding on our fear, our doubt. We need to resist. We have to act as one." Marcus nodded. "Remember what we've learned. We are strongest together. Move when I give the signal."
They took a synchronized step forward. Malia's light pulsed, creating a protective aura around the group. Jonah's nerves were tested to the limit, but he focused on Evelyn's voice and Malia's steady presence. Together, they advanced. The shadow surged, striking like a living storm. Marcus deflected the first attack, keeping the creature at bay while the others maneuvered around it. Evelyn raised her notebook, chanting the inscriptions she had been documenting all along. The glyphs seemed to resonate with her words, and faint light spread across the platform, pushing back the shadows slightly. "Keep going," she urged. Jonah found an opening. Summoning courage, he hurled a glowing crystal fragment they had discovered earlier. It hit the shadow figure, and a ripple of silver light erupted, causing the colossal figure to waver. The group pressed their advantage. Step by step, they forced the shadow back towards the mirror, each member relying on the others to maintain balance, both physically and mentally. Finally, the shadow was pressed entirely against the mirror. It screamed, a soundless wail that seemed to pierce their minds, attempting to evoke every fear and regret. Marcus planted his hand firmly on the surface of the mirror. "Enough!" he roared. "We are not defined by fear." The mirror trembled, cracks growing brighter, until it shattered entirely with a blinding flash. The shadows evaporated, leaving behind a calm void, the platform now stable beneath their feet. Breathing heavily, the team stood together, hearts racing, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Evelyn looked at the remnants of the mirror, now just fragments of glowing crystal. We did it. We survived the trial of shadows." Malia lowered her disc, the glow dimming. "Not just survived, we confronted ourselves, and we did it together." Jonah exhaled, a smile breaking across his face. I can't believe it. We actually made it." Marcus looked at each member in turn, a rare softness in his eyes. "This labyrinth tests not just your courage, but your unity, your trust. Remember that. Whatever comes next, we face it as one." The platform began to shift, revealing a hidden staircase descending into light. The labyrinth seemed to acknowledge their victory, guiding them onward. They stepped forward together, knowing that this trial, though harrowing, had strengthened their bond and prepared them for whatever awaited in the depths below.
The forest had grown quiet in a way that made Evelyn's skin prickle. Not silent exactly, but subdued, almost reverent, as though the trees themselves were holding their breath. Each step felt heavier than the last, not from the weight of their packs, but from the pressing memory of every footfall that had ever crossed these woods. The whispering forest, they realized again, was no mere collection of trees. It was a living archive. Marcus led the group cautiously, his eyes flicking from shadow to shadow. He had learned painfully that hesitation in these woods could be fatal. His hands hovered over his pack straps, ready to act, ready to protect. Jonah walked close to him, his gaze fixed on the symbols carved into tree trunks. Every etching, every scratch in the bark seemed to pulse faintly, as if the forest was reading him, waiting to see if he would understand. Evelyn followed, her hands brushing lightly against the rough bark. She whispered to the others in low tones, "Do you feel it? The air, it's thick with something I can't name." Malia closed her eyes for a moment, letting the forest speak in the language she had learned from whispers, herbs, and old stories. It's a place untouched by time, a sanctuary, but not a welcoming one. It tests those who enter. Their path narrowed suddenly, the trees forming a natural corridor. The sunlight barely penetrated the dense canopy, casting shifting shadows across the moss-covered ground. Roots rose like the spines of ancient creatures, and vines coiled around branches, swaying without wind. A soft golden haze hovered, as though the forest itself had filtered the light to show only what it allowed. Then they saw it, a set of ruins,
stone walls cracked and moss-covered, barely rising above the undergrowth. A circular formation of ancient pillars surrounded a crumbling altar. Ivy snaked across the structures, and wildflowers pushed defiantly through the cracks. Despite the decay, there was a harmony to the architecture, a balance that suggested someone, long ago, had understood the forest intimately. Jonah stepped forward, his journal trembling slightly in his hands. These markings, they match some of the constellations we saw at the door before. I think this is a place like that. Marcus frowned, scanning the tree line. It feels watched. I don't like it. Evelyn, however, stepped closer to the altar, noticing faint inscriptions. They're prayers, offerings, she said softly, brushing her fingers across the symbols. But not from any one culture. It's as if every people who walked here left something behind. Malia placed her palm on the stone. Her eyes widened slightly. It's a memory hub, a sanctuary built to preserve knowledge, devotion, and history for anyone who is willing to listen. The forest responded immediately. A sudden wind coursed through the ruins, lifting leaves and carrying faint sounds, whispers in countless languages. They weren't merely voices, they were memories, fragments of lives threaded into the air. Each word, each breath carried weight. A soldier marching centuries ago, a mother calling her child, a scholar recording stars, a child laughing in a meadow. It's alive, Jonah whispered. It remembers everything. Marcus tightened his jaw, his instincts screaming caution. We need to be careful. Don't touch anything unless you mean to learn from it, not take it. Evelyn and Malia shared a glance. Both knew that in the whispering forest, touching, speaking, or moving carelessly could have consequences far beyond what the eye could see. As they approached the central altar, they noticed a shallow basin carved into the stone. Water pooled in it, perfectly still, reflecting the canopy above. Jonah knelt beside it. The surface shimmered unnaturally. When he looked closer, his reflection twisted. Instead of seeing himself, he saw a young girl running through these same ruins, laughing centuries before. A faint melody seemed to echo from her mouth, hauntingly familiar. Evelyn gasped. "Do you see that? It's showing us history." Malia whispered, "It's not just history, it's memory preserved in essence. This is the forgotten sanctuary, the heart of what the forest protects." Marcus, skeptical but alert, crouched beside them. He looked into the water, expecting to see only his own reflection. Instead, he saw a man, tall, broad-shouldered in rough-spun garments, kneeling and carving symbols into the altar centuries ago. His hands were strong, deliberate. Marcus recognized the urgency in the posture. This person, whoever he was, left something crucial behind. Jonah's journal vibrated faintly in his hands. The page with the symbol from the forest doorway glowed softly. He traced the lines with his finger. "It's all connected," he whispered. "Every door, every ruin, every stone. It's part of the forest's memory network. This place, it stores essence, knowledge, faith, even emotion. The forest collects it, keeps it alive." The group moved slowly, reverently, absorbing the depth of what they had stumbled upon. Every stone, every plant, every pattern seemed to resonate with a quiet pulse, not of life, but of remembrance. Then the ground beneath the altar vibrated faintly, and a low hum began to grow, almost imperceptibly at first, then building. The air thickened and the forest seemed to lean closer, listening, waiting for the group to act. Evelyn spoke, barely ever a whisper. "It wants us to participate, to acknowledge it." Malia nodded. "We can't take, we can only give. Our presence, our respect, our stories. The forest feeds on acknowledgement." Jonah hesitated,
then opened his grandmother's journal and began reading aloud, carefully, a story she had once told him, a story of wonder, loss, survival, and memory. As the words echoed, faint lights shimmered in the ruins, aligning with the pillars. Each word Jonah spoke seemed to unlock centuries of slumbering memory. Marcus, still cautious, finally laid a hand on the altar. His pulse synchronized with the vibrations in the stone. For a moment, he felt the weight of generations, fear, hope, courage, despair, and it made him shiver, but he held his ground, steadying himself. Evelyn stepped forward, placing both hands on the water in the basin. Ripples formed instantly, spreading outward. The reflections inside shifted, showing interwoven histories of people across continents, Europe, Africa, the Americas, all converging here at this sanctuary. She gasped softly, tears forming. It's everything the forest remembers, all those lives preserved, all those stories kept safe. Malia closed her eyes, feeling the energy around them. This is why the forest called us here, to bear witness, to carry the weight forward, to ensure that memory never dies.
The vibration grew, and the pillars hummed faintly, aligned by some ancient, unseen intelligence. Jonah's voice trembled as he finished the passage from his journal, and suddenly the hum ceased. Silence returned, profound, expectant, alive. The group looked at one another, realizing what they had witnessed. The forgotten sanctuary wasn't just a place, it was a living memory, a heart within the forest that connected every vanished traveler, every preserved culture, every lost fragment of history. And the forest had allowed them to see it. Marcus finally exhaled, feeling the tension leave his body in slow, controlled breaths. "We need to remember this," he said quietly, "and not just survive it, but protect it." Evelyn nodded, still tracing the carvings in the basin. "It chose us because we listen, because we respect the weight of memory." Jonah closed his grandmother's journal carefully, understanding fully that the forest had woven him, his family, and their stories into its eternal library. The path ahead was uncertain, but they were no longer merely travelers. They were witnesses and guardians, charged with preserving the whispers of the forest. The trees above shivered in a gentle breeze. Leaves whispered faintly, as if in approval. The forgotten sanctuary had revealed itself, and the forest had accepted them. The group lingered at the edge of the altar, the weight of what they had witnessed pressing on them. Even the air felt thicker here, humming with silent memories, as if every stone, every leaf, every carved symbol were trying to communicate. Evelyn knelt and pressed her palm against a crumbling pillar. It vibrated faintly under her touch, and for a moment she saw flashes of the past. A young woman lighting candles, her eyes brimming with hope. An old man mapping stars on parchment, lost in thought. "This place, it shows us fragments, but not the full story. It's giving us pieces, letting us fill the gaps ourselves." Malia nodded. "It tests perception, empathy, and respect. The forest wants us to understand that memory is never complete. Every person contributes, and every story matters." Jonah leaned closer to the next pillar. His grandmother's journal had several sketches of symbols similar to the ones carved into the stone. As he traced them, a vision bloomed before him. A caravan moving through the forest centuries ago, travelers sharing meals, laughing quietly, unaware that they were being observed by unseen eyes. The sensation was so vivid, Jonah could feel the rough texture of the cloth tents, smell the smoke from the fire. Marcus remained skeptical, yet he could not deny the energy in the sanctuary. He approached a pillar with faint etchings resembling runes and traced them lightly with his fingers. The moment he touched it, his mind was flooded with fleeting images of soldiers preparing for battle, families fleeing, and maps marked with hidden paths. He pulled back quickly, heart racing. This is dangerous," he muttered. "The forest shows you truth, but you could lose yourself in it if you're not careful." Evelyn placed her hands together in the water basin and closed her eyes. She saw visions of different people across continents, all connected through this sanctuary. A child learning to paint, a healer brewing potions, a scholar counting stars. Each life left an imprint, and the forest preserved them as echoes. She shivered. It's not just a memory hub, it's a network, a web of souls, experiences, and wisdom. Malia guided them to a central pillar, slightly taller than the others. Small carvings spiraled upward in a pattern that seemed to draw energy from the surrounding ruins. "This pillar holds the core essence of the sanctuary. Touch it and you may glimpse your own connection to everything preserved here," she said, her voice calm but firm. One by one they approached. Jonah placed his hands gently on the stone. His vision expanded. He saw the forest as a living organism, roots entwined with rivers, streams, and hills. Every whisper, every sound, every story traveled through the land, connecting humans and nature across time. He staggered slightly, overwhelmed by the weight of the interconnected lives. Marcus followed, more cautiously. He touched the pillar, expecting only visions of danger, yet he was shown moments of courage and kindness spanning centuries. Soldiers protecting villagers, scholars guiding students, strangers feeding the hungry. All small acts, yet powerful enough to leave lasting imprints. He exhaled slowly, understanding that protection and vigilance were not just physical, they were spiritual and moral. Evelyn was the last to approach. She closed her eyes and felt the energy pulse beneath her palms. She saw the sanctuary forming over centuries, built by countless hands, each adding wisdom, prayer, or memory. The vision shifted to the present, her group standing in the ruins and the forest around them, waiting to see what they would do next. She realized that the forest was not just observing, it was judging their intentions. A sudden wind swept through the ruins, lifting leaves and swirling them around the pillars. Whispering voices grew louder, yet distinctly melodic, harmonizing like a choir of unseen singers. Marcus instinctively stepped in front of the others, shielding them from an unseen force. Evelyn felt a pull toward the water itself, as if the water itself were calling her name. "Don't resist," Malia instructed. "The forest will guide, not harm. Trust it, but respect it." Evelyn knelt and touched the water. Instantly, the reflections shifted. She saw herself, not as she was, but as someone living 100 years ago, walking these same paths, leaving a token on the altar. Her heart skipped. This means we've all been part of this forest in some way," she whispered. Jonah, noticing Evelyn's awe, held the journal above the basin. Its pages glowed faintly, reacting to the sanctity of the place. As he read aloud, the water shimmered and ripples formed intricate patterns, connecting each pillar in a web of light. The ruins were not merely static, they were alive, mapping connections, revealing relationships, honoring contributions across centuries. Marcus studied the patterns, realizing a subtle logic beneath the chaos. The pillars, the basin, the ruins, it's a puzzle, a test. It's not about solving it in the traditional sense. It's about perception, empathy, and respect. Hours seemed to pass, though time itself felt suspended. Evelyn, Jonah, Marcus, and Malia moved carefully among the pillars, touching stones, whispering stories, leaving small tokens, a carved mark, a whispered memory, a fragment of song, contributing to the living history. Each action caused ripples in the reflections, connecting past and present. As evening approached, the sanctuary began to glow softly. Golden light emanated from the carvings, bathing the ruins in a warm, gentle glow. Shadows lengthened, and the forest itself seemed to breathe in sync with the group. They understood that their presence had been acknowledged. They had earned a place among the countless souls whose lives and memories the forest protected. Before leaving, Malia sprinkled a small pouch of sacred soil around the altar. "This is our contribution," she said softly, "a promise that the forest will continue to be respected and remembered." Jonah placed the journal carefully on the ground, closing it with reverence. "We will remember this, and we will share it, but not for fame or glory, only to honor those who came before us and to protect what remains." Evelyn stood, looking at the ruins bathed in golden light, feeling a sense of peace. Marcus remained vigilant, yet a rare softness touched his eyes. Even he felt the sanctuary's profound effect. The forest whispered around them as they retraced their steps, leaving the forgotten sanctuary behind. Yet none of them felt as though they had truly left. The memories, the echoes, and the spirit of the forest had woven themselves into their souls. They had become part of something far greater than themselves, witnesses, guardians, and carriers of a legacy that time could never erase. And as the canopy above shifted with the evening breeze, the forest waited, ready to share its secrets to those who were willing to listen and respect the weight of memory.
The forest was quieter now, but not silent. Every rustle of leaves, every subtle shift of shadow felt deliberate, as if the woods themselves were testing their resolve. Evelyn led the way, her eyes sharp, scanning not just the path, but the air above, below, and around them. Marcus followed closely, muscles tense, ready to spring into action at the slightest disturbance. Jonah clutched the journal tightly, feeling the heartbeat of the forest sync with his own. Malia held the wooden disc, now glowing faintly, casting a warm golden hue on her determined face. They emerged from the corridors of starlight into a clearing unlike any they had seen. Towering stone monoliths rose from the earth, covered in moss and intricate carvings that seemed older than memory itself. The carvings depicted scenes of battles, rituals, and celebrations, all infused with a supernatural energy that caused the hair on their necks to prickle. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient stone, and every breath felt like inhaling history itself. This is a council ground," Marcus murmured, voice low. "Look at the carvings. They're communicating strategy, law, and legacy, all in one language we barely understand." Evelyn traced the symbols with her finger. "It's a guide. The forest has led us here for a reason. There's knowledge here we need to survive what's coming." Jonah stepped closer to one of the monoliths, noticing that the carvings seemed to shift subtly, rearranging themselves as if reacting to his presence. "It's alive," he whispered, "not in the way we understand, but it responds to intent." Malia's gaze was fixed on a circular indentation at the center of the largest stone. The disc in her hands pulsed in response, almost as if recognizing a kindred presence. "This is a key," she said reverently, "a way to unlock the next part of the forest's secret, but only if we work together, understand it fully." The team approached cautiously. Marcus examined the carvings, noting patterns and recurring symbols. Every culture, every era, whatever passed through this forest left a mark here, and it's asking us to add our story, carefully, deliberately. Evelyn nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "We are participants now, not just observers. What we do here will echo long after we leave, or long after we're gone." A low hum began to rise from the stones, resonating through the air, the ground, and their very bones.
The carvings glowed faintly with an amber light, illuminating the clearing with an ethereal warmth. Shadows danced like silent guardians along the monolith's edges. Jonah opened the journal, and the symbols inside aligned with those on the stones. The forest had guided him here, connecting past and present. He traced a line of symbols, following them instinctively. Each movement caused a corresponding light to flare on the monoliths. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shivered as if the forest itself exhaled. The clearing's energy shifted, revealing a hidden pathway leading deeper into the heart of the forest, where sunlight barely penetrated. The path was lined with luminescent fungi, casting a faint blue glow, and delicate mist swirled around their feet. Malia looked down at her disc, now shining brighter. "We're ready," she said, "but the forest tests more than knowledge. It tests trust, courage, and unity. We must move together, or we falter alone." As they advanced along the hidden path, shadows began to take shape, figures from the past and future, watching, guiding, or warning. A knight in weathered armor stood silently, his gaze locked on Marcus. A young healer offered an encouraging nod to Evelyn. A child laughed from the mist, reminding Jonah of innocence lost and regained. Malia felt countless eyes on her, some approving, some questioning, but all aware of the group's purpose. They reached a cavern entrance, hidden beneath massive roots that twisted like serpents guarding a treasure. Inside, faint light shimmered off crystalline formations embedded in the walls, casting reflections that created the illusion of countless stars in motion. The air was cool and crisp, carrying a whisper of distant rivers and forgotten winds. "This is it," Evelyn whispered, "the forest's next test, and perhaps the greatest revelation yet." The team stepped inside, the cavern expanding as if breathing. Strange symbols glowed along the walls, and the disc pulsed with synchronized energy, guiding them forward. Time here felt suspended, seconds stretched into minutes, minutes into hours. A voice echoed, soft and commanding, not from a person, but from the cavern itself. "Those who enter must leave part of themselves behind, carry part of the forest within, and accept that the journey alters all who proceed." Marcus tightened his pack. "Leave part of ourselves? We can't do that lightly." Evelyn's gaze was unwavering. "It doesn't mean losing, it means transformation. We already carry the forest in our memories, our choices, our hearts. This is the moment to solidify it." Malia held the journal close, feeling warmth radiate through the pages. The writings inside had shifted yet again, revealing instructions, guidance, and warnings. Each member of the team understood they could not turn back, not now, not ever. They moved deeper, the cavern walls expanding into an enormous chamber filled with light that seemed alive. Threads of energy crisscrossed the space, weaving images of the forest, their journey, and lives that had passed through this place long before them. Every step illuminated a new path, a new story, a new possibility. Malia approached the chamber's center, raising the disc. Light responded, forming a portal of shimmering energy, a doorway that merged forest, memory, and time into a single, fluid existence. Evelyn, Marcus, Jonah, and Malia exchanged determined glances, knowing the forest had brought them to this moment not just for survival, but for understanding, the full depth of connection between past, present, and future. As they stepped through, the portal's energy enveloped them completely, pulling them into a space that was no longer forest, no longer cavern, no longer time as they understood it, but a confluence of all three. And in that moment, they realized the forest had chosen them not merely to witness history, but to shape it, honor it, and ensure its stories would never fade.
The air was dense, scented with wet earth, resin, and something older, an aroma that felt almost like memory itself. Light filtered through the canopy in fractured shards, illuminating tiny motes of floating dust that danced like fleeting spirits. Evelyn's breath fogged in the cool air. "I can't shake this feeling," she whispered, eyes darting to the twisting path ahead. "It's like we're being watched, not by animals, but something else." Marcus's hand hovered near the strap of his backpack. "We are," he said bluntly. "This forest doesn't just exist. It observes, calculates, decides. We saw it in the last clearing. The way it reacts, it's aware of us in ways we can't quantify." Jonah hugged his grandmother's journal closer, feeling the warmth radiating faintly from its cover. "I think it's testing us," he said quietly. "Every choice we make, every hesitation, every fear, it records, not just in memory, but in reality." Malia nodded, eyes soft but focused. "It's listening, yes, but not to us as individuals only. It listens to our collective story, the histories we carry, the intentions behind our movements, the echoes of those who walked before. That's why the disc reacts. It resonates with what the forest understands, not just what we perceive." A sudden rustling made all four freeze. The forest shifted almost imperceptibly. Branches arched higher. Trunks seemed to lean slightly, as if pressing inward. Shadows elongated and merged. The sunlight through the canopy flickered like a dying flame. Marcus drew a slow breath. "Stay close. Every time we've split, the forest has corrected our path. Don't argue, don't stray." The path opened to a small clearing. A stone circle, smaller than the previous one, lay partially covered by moss. Here, the air felt heavier, saturated with a lingering energy that pressed against their chests. Jonah's fingers trembled as he traced the edge of the circle. "I've never seen stones like this," he murmured. "It's alive. The carvings move if you look too long. They're not random. Each symbol, every line, tells a story. They're layered, centuries deep." Malia's hand rested on the wooden disc. It pulsed gently. "It's the forest telling us, listen, observe, remember. Each stone is a guardian of knowledge. Every circle is a library we can walk through if we're careful." Evelyn crouched, brushing away the moss from one of the stones. "Look at this," she whispered. The carvings depicted a procession of people, figures carrying bundles, walking through a forest eerily similar to this one. The figures' faces were detailed, expressive: joy, fear, determination, sorrow. "These aren't just symbols, they're lives." Marcus's gaze swept the surrounding tree line. "We need to respect this. One wrong move, disturb the pattern, the forest could respond aggressively." A low wind stirred, whispering through the needles above. The sound wasn't uniform, it carried a rhythm, almost like chanting. The travelers recognized fragments of language, not complete sentences, but intonations familiar to various cultures: Latin prayers, Maasai songs, Celtic storytelling. The forest recited its archive. Jonah felt a pull again, a gentle tug, like invisible threads threading through his chest, through his mind, leading him forward. "It's showing me something, the next path." The others followed, each step deliberate. The path curved sharply, opening into a grove dominated by towering oaks whose trunks were twisted into archways. Sunlight barely penetrated the dense foliage. Here, the forest seemed to move with them, leaves shifting, branches bending, roots adjusting. The environment was no longer static, it was responsive, like a living labyrinth. Malia whispered, "The disc is guiding us. It wants us to understand, not just survive." They moved carefully, passing over gnarled roots and small clearings. Shadows pooled, then receded, as if making way. The travelers began to sense time stretching. Moments lingered longer, minutes felt like hours. Jonah caught glimpses of figures out of the corner of his eye, people from other eras, frozen for a heartbeat, then gone. A Roman soldier kneeling to tie a boot,
a Maasai woman reaching for herbs, a medieval European child chasing a goat. Evelyn swallowed. Are these memories? Echoes? Malia shook her head. They are preserved moments. The forest doesn't erase, it holds what humanity forgets. Every traveler, every life, every story, it keeps.
Marcus exhaled slowly. Then the real danger isn't being lost, it's forgetting why we're here. If we fail to understand, we become part of the archive instead of observers. Suddenly, the path narrowed into a deep ravine. A stream gurgled below, but no bridge existed. Moss-covered stones formed stepping points, but spaced unnaturally far apart, almost as if the forest wanted them to struggle. Jonah stepped forward, then froze. The stones shifted subtly underfoot, adjusting to his weight. He looked at the others, realizing the forest was actively accommodating them, but testing their focus, trust, and cooperation. Evelyn extended her hand to Marcus first. "We do this together," she said. One by one they crossed, careful with each step. The moment Marcus touched the final stone, a low vibration pulsed through the ground. A voice, a chorus of many voices, filled their minds simultaneously. "You have chosen to move with intention. You have chosen to observe, to listen, to respect. Continue, and the next layer will reveal itself." The ravine gave way to a sunlit plateau. Here, the forest opened, revealing a sprawling meadow dotted with wildflowers unseen in modern times. At its center stood a colossal tree, impossibly wide, its trunk carved with spirals, stars, rivers, and countless symbols from civilizations spanning continents. Its roots penetrated deep, entwined with the earth like ancient veins. Malia's eyes widened. This is the heart tree. It appears only to those who have earned the forest's attention. Every story we've encountered, every echo of lives preserved, it converges here. Jonah approached the base of the tree, laying the grandmother's journal against the roots. The moment it touched the bark, the carvings began to shimmer. The entire meadow vibrated softly, as if the world itself were breathing. Figures from past eras appeared around the tree, stepping out of memory. Explorers, children, villagers, hunters, and dreamers. They observed silently, not threateningly, their eyes curious but patient. Marcus murmured, "It's welcoming us, not as intruders but as witnesses." The travelers felt themselves lifted, not physically but spiritually. Time stretched, they glimpsed moments across centuries. Entire civilizations rose and fell, preserved within the whispers of leaves and the flow of sap. Each figure they had passed, the lost boy in the village, the hunter, the Roman soldier, they were all threads in the forest's vast tapestry. Malia whispered, "We are part of it now, not captured, not imprisoned, but integrated." The forest doesn't just remember, it teaches, preserves, entrusts. The sun began to set, or what they perceived as sunset within this timeless space. The heart tree glowed softly, illuminating paths back to other clearings, other archives, other preserved histories. The travelers understood. Each step they took could lead them deeper to new chapters, new civilizations, new stories waiting to be remembered. Malia looked at the group. "We carry the responsibility now, not just to survive, but to learn, remember, and eventually share. We are custodians." Jonah nodded, clutching the journal tightly. "And the forest trusts us." A gentle breeze rustled, carrying voices, thankful, mournful, joyful. The meadow pulsed with life and memory. Time felt meaningless. The travelers had stepped beyond fear, beyond confusion, into understanding. As night fully settled, the stars overhead aligned in intricate patterns, mirrored by constellations carved into the heart tree. The travelers gathered beneath its sprawling branches.
Evelyn whispered a silent prayer for guidance. Marcus scanned their surroundings, but felt a rare sense of calm. Jonah pressed his journal to his chest, and Malia held the wooden disc over her heart. The forest, vast and infinite, breathed around them. It remembered, it protected, it waited, and now it had chosen these four to carry the torch, to bridge past and present, to preserve the stories humanity was at risk of forgetting. Hours or centuries passed in silence. Then a subtle shimmer along the edge of the meadow marked the beginning of the next path. The chapter closed with the four travelers standing together, aware of the magnitude of their journey, ready to step forward into the infinite archive the forest had curated for millennia. Their steps would lead them into new mysteries, new echoes, new whispers. And through it all, the forest waited, patient, knowing, and alive.
The morning mist clung to the edges of the forest like a living veil, softening the outline of ancient oaks and twisted roots. Evelyn stepped forward, her boots pressing into the damp earth, and felt a thrill of anticipation pulse through her veins. Today was different. Today, the culmination of their journey awaited them. Her sharp green eyes scanned the path ahead, and she noticed how even the smallest leaves seemed to shimmer with expectation. "Can you feel it?" Marcus murmured, his gravelly voice breaking the silence. His alert eyes flicked from shadow to shadow, as if expecting the forest itself to speak. The rugged lines of his face, the stubble along his jaw, and the practical, worn jacket he wore all spoke of a man honed by years of survival, but even he seemed humbled by the morning's atmosphere. Jonah followed quietly, the journal clutched tightly in his hands. Every few steps, he traced the edges of its pages, his dark eyes reflecting the faint golden light that filtered through the high canopy. His lean frame moved with a quiet deliberation, his every motion hinting at sensitivity and curiosity. Malia walked last, her braided black hair swinging lightly, the wooden disc resting against her chest. Calm as the still waters of a hidden pond, she let the forest guide her steps, her deep brown eyes attuned to subtle shifts of light and energy around them. Ahead, the heart tree waited. Its trunk was massive, centuries old, gnarled roots spreading like the veins of the earth itself. Sunlight broke through the canopy to illuminate the carvings along its bark, symbols of civilizations long past, spirals, stars, rivers, and faces frozen in time. The carvings glowed faintly as the group approached, pulsing like a heartbeat in tune with the forest itself. Evelyn reached out, fingers brushing the carvings, and a low hum filled the air. She felt warmth travel from her fingertips to her chest, a deep resonance that connected her to the stories embedded in the wood. Marcus's eyes narrowed as he scanned the perimeter, every instinct telling him to be wary, but even he could not ignore the beauty, the majesty of the ancient tree. Jonah placed the journal at the base of the heart tree. As he did, a cascade of light poured from its pages, illuminating ghostly figures of the past, Roman soldiers marching through a misty battlefield, medieval children playing in long-forgotten villages, tribal elders performing sacred rituals. The figures moved slowly, ethereal yet vivid, and the group watched in awe. Malia held her disc forward, its carved symbols aligning with those on the tree. A soft vibration hummed through her hands, and she felt the forest's energy spiral upward. The heart tree remembers everything, every life, every story, every heartbeat. It's awakening for us, for humanity. A gentle wind stirred, carrying scents of moss and rain, and the carvings shone brighter. The group could feel the pulse beneath their feet, the slow rhythm of centuries weaving together with the present. Evelyn's breath caught, Marcus's jaw tightened, Jonah's eyes widened, and Malia's calm smile grew. Suddenly, the tree shimmered with intense light, enveloping them in warmth.
The ghosts of history, soldiers, children, elders, stood silently around the group, acknowledging them before fading back into the wood as if satisfied. The carvings glowed one last time, then settled into a tranquil golden hue. This is it," Evelyn whispered, awe in her voice. "We're part of something eternal now." Marcus relaxed slightly, a rare smile brushing his rugged face. "And we survived," he said softly, almost as an afterthought. But the weight of the moment pressed upon him. He knew they had touched the heartbeat of the world itself. Jonah flipped through the journal one final time. Each page seemed lighter, almost alive, as though the heart tree had imbued the ink with its energy. The knowledge of generations flowed through him, and he realized that their journey was not just about discovery, it was about connection, about remembering. Malia stepped forward and placed her hand against the trunk, feeling the slow, steady pulse beneath the bark. She closed her eyes and whispered an ancient word, and for a moment it seemed as if the tree itself breathed in response. The group stood together in silence, the heart tree towering above them, its presence monumental and serene. Every leaf, every root, every glimmer of light told a story of resilience, hope, and the unbroken thread connecting the past to the present. Then, as if sensing the group's readiness, the heart tree shed a single golden leaf. It drifted gently to the ground at their feet, a symbol of awakening, of new beginnings. Evelyn picked it up, holding it carefully in her palm, feeling the weight of both history and possibility. "This is only the beginning," Malia said softly, eyes shining. Marcus nodded. "Then let's make sure we honor them, every step from here on." Jonah smiled, feeling the pulse of the heart tree resonate through him. "We carry it with us, every story, every heartbeat, forever." And as the sun rose higher, bathing the forest in golden light, the four of them turned from the heart tree, walking into the future together, stronger, wiser, and forever changed by the forest, by the journey, and by the awakening of a world that had waited patiently for them all.